Hey, it's Dave here. Welcome to my channel, My Yard Sale. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of what's been happening to my body in the last couple of days, which is I feel like it's unusual, and I wanted to share it because I think that somebody else at some point is going to, like I said before, watch this video and they're going to be like, oh, that's exactly what I'm dealing with. I'm glad that it isn't rigor mortis setting in or something terrifying and horrible. So I've been going through what I feel like is insulin sensitivity starting to increase in my body again, reversal of insulin resistance, and the big muscle groups in my body are getting extremely uncomfortable. And specifically where it started was in my elbows and my shoulders. That's where it really started. And I could feel like a uncomfortable like tension in my spine, which is actually it's very uncomfortable and it's borderline a little bit scary, honestly. Um, so so that's where it started, was mostly in my elbows, my shoulders, and in my spine. And then I started waking up in the middle of the night and having to stretch out my calves because my calves felt very tense. It wasn't like sore, it didn't hurt, but it felt very tense. So again, it started with like bigger muscle groups, like my forearms, my shoulders, and my biceps. Kind of graduated to my calves, and then in the last day and a half or so, I can feel my thighs kind of getting uncomfortable. And what's interesting is, and I know I've made other posts on this, but stretching these muscle groups out does make them feel a little bit better. And I'm hoping that this is the I hope this is the final phase of reversing this insulin resistance thing and actually having insulin sensitivity again and building muscle and gaining weight like I should be gaining weight. But I can physically feel the muscle groups, like, I don't want to say they're feeling thicker, or they're just uncomfortable. It's like if you were to take a couple of weights that weren't too heavy, but just heavy enough that you like could feel it really well, and you worked out with them like 150 times every day for a couple of days. On the third day, those muscle groups aren't going to be sore, but they're going to be slightly uncomfortable. And that's exactly what this feels like. It's just weird how it's like it's going through my body. It started, like I said, in my spine and in my arms, and then I could feel it in my calves, and now I can actually feel it in my thighs. It feels, like I said, it feels uncomfortable, but it's not painful. And quite frankly, it does feel a little tiny bit better when I specifically stretch out those muscle groups. I'm not like jazzercising to stretch out my limber up my body. I'm having to specifically like stretch out those muscle groups. And then it does feel a little bit better. I'm just hoping that pretty soon I'm going to start regaining my balance and being able to eat normal again, which will be very, very good because like I stated in a previous post, I am getting my appetite back. I can definitely eat once a day. If I eat 2 times a day, I'm more happy, and I'm almost getting to a point where I could actually eat 3 times a day. I even think about a snack here and there, or what am I gonna, what am I gonna eat? So I'll eat an apple or a couple of apples to hold myself over for the next couple of hours. So it seems like everything is progressing in the right direction. I'm just waiting to wake up one of these mornings and feel like, oh, I feel so much better. I feel so good. And when I do, and if I do, I say when I do, not if I do, but if I do, I'm going to post it here, and hopefully I'll help a lot of people out in trying to overcome this very uncomfortable situation that I'm in. Hey, if you have any questions, I answer all questions. I answer all comments. Do me a favor and boink, leave that below, and I'd be more than happy to answer. If you're experiencing any of what I'm talking about, and you have any questions of what I'm going through or what I've already been through, please leave that below as well, because I'd be more than happy to answer. My ultimate goal would be to try to help people not be dealing with this situation alone and blind. Because, like I said in another post, there's plenty of doctors and YouTubers that'll talk about how to reverse diabetes and prediabetes and how to lower your A1C, and there's plenty of people that can talk to that. But quite frankly, for the few of us that have maybe gone too far or not noticed the warning and made changes and gotten to the point where I'm at, I just want people to know that there are people out here that have dealt with it, are dealing with it, and there are answers. So if you have any questions, do me a favor and leave it below. If you liked this post or if this was interesting at all, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. And if you aren't subscribed, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. That would help me out greatly. And for those of you that are subscribed, man, I so appreciate it. Thank you so much. It definitely gives purpose to me making these videos outside of just blasting my ridiculous winter hat face into the internet. That's not my goal. I want to try to help people, and I got to be honest, this whole thing that I'm dealing with and going through, it's not terrifying, but it's quite scary, and it doesn't make sense. One day, you'd be totally weak and unable pretty much to walk, and the next day it feels like your muscle inside your arm or your leg is going to explode outside of your skin, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, now it makes sense because I understand a little bit more about the whole insulin thing and diabetes and all this other stuff, but it doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to help some folks make sense of maybe what they're dealing with, make it a little bit less terrifying. And quite frankly, I think that there are a lot of doctors out there that are full of shit and they don't know what they're talking about. And then, of course, there's all the people that know a little bit about this whole situation and they don't know anything about anything that's going to help or be comforting. So I'm trying to add, my experience here to try to help those people not be scared like I was in the beginning. So anyways, my post here is about the fact that it feels like when insulin sensitivity comes back, especially if you've had a lot of body reduction, muscle reduction, bone mass reduction, it does seem like it comes back in the most active muscles and the largest muscle groups first. I mean, I don't know how long it'll take to get these muscle groups like more exercised and back into full action. Of course, I'll post it here, but hopefully it's only like normally if you work out, it takes a couple of days, like it takes a week to get that muscle group fully worked out. Hopefully that'll be what happens here because, man, this is uncomfortable. I want to say a couple of weeks ago, but more like a couple of days ago, it was really strange how, like in my shoulder and my elbows, my joints were cracking so loud. I made a post on it, and it was very uncomfortable. It would be like where I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and of course I live in New York. I wear a hat inside my house. I live under like 9 layers of blankets that I have to try to claw my way out of to try to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which sucks. But I would throw the blankets off of the top of my bed so that I could try to shimmy my way out, and it would make my elbow snap so loud it almost sounded like the bone broke. But then all of a sudden I would feel like this relief, like I'd be like, it's kind of like, I guess, when people crack their knuckles in their hands, maybe they feel relief. I guess that sometimes there's air bubbles in the bone, whatever it is inside the bone, in the structure there, that it gets released when you crack it. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like I broke anything, but boy, it sure sounded like it. So, anyways, it feels like things are progressing for me and getting better. Like I said before, my muscle groups are starting to feel like they're bulking up and getting thicker. I'm definitely getting more hungry. I need to eat twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And actually, as I'm finishing my food, like if I make food once a week or so, once every 4 days to 8 days. As I'm finishing my food, I'm already thinking about how am I going to make food or what am I going to make next for food, because I'm hungry. I'm happy about that. And then the most important thing I feel like is I'm not waking up or getting up 10 times at night to go pee. And I know that sounds like a simple, insignificant thing, but when I was extremely insulin resistant, very low insulin sensitivity, everything I ate, I was peeing. I could eat a protein shake, I'd pee 10 times. And not because of the water that I was mixing it with, but because of the protein. I would eat a quarter pound of meat in my meat mix, and I would have to pee like 6 times that night or that day. And then, of course, if I added any garbage into my diet, which, yeah, occasionally I do that. Occasionally I have to have a little bit of a sweet treat. It makes all this not quite so horrible. But if I added anything into my diet that was even remotely questionable with blood sugars, I would pee 15 times. And the worst part is, I would wake up all night long and have to pee like 5 times at night. And then that whole dawn phenomenon thing would start in between 3 and 5, where I would absolutely have to get up and go to the bathroom because my body would have spiked my system with sugars to get my day started. So that I was definitely waking up in between 3 and 5 every morning to go to the bathroom. And then luckily I'm not having to do that anymore quite so much. I'm not going to say ever, but quite so much. Weirdest thing the other night happened. So I did get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I go in and there's a dead mouse floating in my toilet. I don't know how that happens. This mouse did not fall into the toilet and die. It must have come up. And I don't know exactly how that happens, because I thought when you flush a toilet, it goes down, it goes away. But somehow there was a mouse inside my toilet, clearly dead. It had been dead for quite some time, it looked like. But it was so weird. I'm thinking, wait a second, what is that going around in my toilet? It wasn't paper, it wasn't anything, non-paper. I was like, what the heck? There's a friggin' mouse floating in my toilet. Very strange. I don't know how that happens or why that happens, but like I need that complication with all this other stuff going on. Anyways, my hopes is that in the next, let's say 5 days, all the stretching that I'm doing, and hopefully my system is starting to get the nutrition it needs from the glucose and the foods I'm eating, and it's going to continue to push it into my cells, and hopefully I'll get past this whole thing where I feel like I'm so stiff. And I was joking with a friend of mine, feels like rigor mortis is setting in, and I know that's not possible because I'm not dead, but it's what it feels like. It's like even when I just like if I just stress my joints and muscles, I can hear them cracking, and I can feel the tension in the muscle. It'd be like if you took a rubber band and you put it in between your elbow and your shoulder, or between your elbow and your hand. like that would have a certain amount of tension. But then if you took 50 rubber bands and put them in between the same two joints, like that's what my joints feel like, and the muscles. I don't know if that's a positive thing or a negative thing. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to hear people's feedback. So if you have any feedback or thoughts, I'd love to hear it. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be, I'm not looking for medical advice. I'm not expecting that or looking for that. But anybody's thoughts, I'd be open to look at and hear. I'd love to be able to have some other thought outside of what I'm thinking. Even though I do a lot of research and I kind of do know what I'm talking about, in this particular regard, there's not a whole lot of data or content, so I have no idea. And of course, any of the doctors that I've called that I know, even surgeons or, high-level doctors, they don't know anything about any of this. They don't know anything about this whole metabolic thing or diabetes or the effects. They know how to do stitches and they can fix broken bones, but they don't know anything about this neurological thing. They don't know anything about that. So again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a healthcare specialist. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just sharing my experience here and hoping that I can help somebody else realize that they're not crazy, there is hope, and that there is ways to resolve some of these things and make them a little bit easier. If this has been interesting at all, do me a favor, give me that thumbs up, please. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. And I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day. Thanks a lot.